What does it look like to be deeply rooted in Christ in a world of cultural chaos? Welcome to the Equip Podcast. I'm Mark Vance, the lead pastor at Cornerstone Church of Ames, and each week we want to look at core biblical truths that will equip you to live a life of faithfulness, to be salt and light wherever Jesus has called you. Well, I am joined today on the Equip Podcast by Mitchell Johnson. Mitchell, welcome to Ames, Iowa, the official Equip Podcast studio, I guess you could call whatever we're in.
World famous.
Yeah, world famous to the 45 people that know me well. No, Mitchell is joining us because he is the new church planter being sent out from Cornerstone Church to start the Way Church in Austin, Texas. What's official launch plan, timeline for you guys, Mitchell?
Yeah, September 13th is when we're going.
Wow.
Yeah, every Sunday starting September 13th. So
I'm so excited for this.
Yeah.
Now, I want to give a little bit of a peek behind the scenes. So before we will get to information about the Way Church and what we do at church planting, the SALT Network, Cornerstone, all that. But I want people to be able to get to know you. Mm-hmm. I've known you for, I think, probably over a decade now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But many people watching this, they'll be like, oh, I've seen Mitchell at church, or they're brand new to you. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great opportunity to hear your heart, to hear some of your story, and also how God forms you to get you ready to pastor this church. So let's go all the way back. I want to hear a little bit about your family background and how you come to faith, Mitchell.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah, I'm going to try to make this short as I can. Not super short, but so I was originally born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I have a sister who's 7 years older, and my mom and dad were married until I was about in kindergarten, and they got in a pretty bad divorce. And so we lived with my mom in the lower Ninth Ward of New Orleans. If anyone's listening and they've been to New Orleans or know a little bit about New Orleans, the Ninth Ward is not a great place at all. It's not a great place to raise your kids or have a family. And then while we were growing up, my mom went to prison for a year, actually for gambling, taking money from her job. And that's kind of the thing that also initiated the divorce of my parents. And so that was one of the things that was just like incredibly hard growing up. No one told me that she was in prison. Oh, wow. They just were just like, yeah, like she's still like, she's on a cruise and doing. And so just think about how that kind of forms you.
And how old were you when that happens, Mitchell?
8 or 9.
Wow.
8 or 9. And so I'm just waiting, for my mom to get back home, and no one's telling me the truth. And so I find out on my own that she's in prison. I go to my grandma's house, the phone rings on in one of the living rooms that was there, and then I pick it up and it says, there's a collect phone call from, and then I hear her name. And so I say yes, to the charges, whatever. And then my mom's like, did you pick up the phone? Did somebody give this to you or whatever? It's like, no, yeah, I did it. And where are you? And all these questions. And so that was really tough.
Wow.
And then living in New Orleans, we're in a super poor part of New Orleans, but a part of New Orleans that was also really crime infested. So New Orleans was the murder capital of the USA for maybe 2 years before Hurricane Katrina happened, 2 years in a row. And so where we were at, I've seen drive-bys, I've seen yellow tape off crime scenes, seen a lot of really dark things. And then my mom is released from prison. We're living in the Ninth Ward, all those things happening, and then Hurricane Katrina happens.
Oh my God.
And so it was just like thing after thing after thing after thing. And me, my mom, my grandma, we don't evacuate. We stay.
In the lower Ninth Ward?
In the lower Ninth Ward.
Wow.
Also, that sounds like my kid.
Yeah, if you hear in the background, that may be Trey crying.
Yeah, it might be Trey.
Okay. And if you don't hear in the background, Mitchell is father with a young son named Trey, and this is the live nature of the Equip Podcast.
It is the live nature.
Is that Mitchell will be texting on his phone and being like, hey, how's Trey doing?
Yeah. We're here all the way from Austin, Texas, and we have a 17-month-old son who is awesome in every way, but he needs a nap.
Well,
and so we're trying to get him a nap.
Every 17-month-old in the world needs a nap. Okay, so We are back. Yeah. We're in the lower ninth ward.
Yeah.
Katrina hits and you guys stay.
We stay. We don't evacuate because we didn't have the money to. And if anyone's like paying attention to Hurricane Katrina or any other hurricane like that, usually if you try to evacuate too close to the hurricane,
right.
You're stranded. You run out of gas because you've been in traffic all day. So I've sat on a porch during hurricanes before, and it's just like it's another day. But then when George Bush told everyone to evacuate, we were like, oh, it's going to be a different thing. So we were trapped for 4 days, and we lived close to where the levees broke. So we were trapped for 4 days on the top floor of my cousin's apartment and eventually had to be rescued. We were rescued, brought to an I-10 overpass, and then we were rescued by helicopter from that I-10 overpass, brought to a dry part of Louisiana. Then we were put on a Greyhound bus and shipped all the way to Houston, Texas, and that is how I got to Texas.
And you are how old?
It's 12.
12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years old. And so we were in the Astrodome. My first meal was a Pizza Hut personal pan sausage pizza and a Sprite. And let me tell you, those things still hit every single time.
Really?
Yeah, every single time. I'm just like, man, this is the meal that kind of rescued me. And so we have some distant family members like in Wichita Falls, Texas, which is like super close to the Oklahoma border. So that's where we end up moving. Wow. And so I lived with my mom, my grandma. My grandma was a really devout Christian, loves the Lord. Literally, there's a moment where we were rescued by these just regular people with a motorboat that had no motor in it during Hurricane Katrina. We were put on that boat, and they were rowing it with 2x4s. And there was a moment we were in the water that the boat was about to tip over. And I'm the only one in the boat who knows how to swim. And my grandma, everyone starts freaking out. And my grandma tells everyone to shut up and to hold hands and pray. And some combination of God setting the boat and everyone just calming down because they were afraid of my grandma made the boat steady. And that's how I always thought of my grandma.
Wow.
She's going to call on the name of the Lord when she's having a hard time. And so I always looked up to her and admired her faith, and I would go to church with her. And that was kind of like how I was around Christianity and around the church and around Jesus. And then eventually I grew super depressed, super anxious, and honestly really suicidal. Come my junior year of high school, my dad wasn't in my life at the time, and he had remarried, got a new family, and so there were situations where I kind of had to be like a partner to my mom in a way of like helping her get stuff done, helping her pay for things. Right. I had to quit all the sports extracurricular activities to get a job and work. And I just grew really suicidal because I was like, man, like, what is all this for? It's like, I feel like life would just be better if I just ended it. And so there was one day I actually went off to do that and crashed my car into some building or something. And literally as I was on my way driving, pushing 60, 70 and like a 45 speed limit, I remember looking up, my grandma gave me this big gold cross to wear as a chain. And I was just like, this looks so lame. And instead of wearing it, I still wanted to honor her. So I put it on the rearview mirror. And I remember looking at it, not thinking like, oh, like, is this Jesus? Is this God? Like, maybe I should stop. But I remember thinking about her faith.
Wow.
And she's gone through 2 hurricanes that, took everything from her. She still had this real contagious joy that always shone through the midst of whatever trials. And so I thought, man, there has to be more to life if my grandma's gone through way more than I'll ever go through. And so I turned the wheel, I stopped, I started bawling, and then I started taking kind of the reading the Bible thing seriously. Then I go to Texas Tech University, go to a Christian camp there because that was the only way you could meet new people and new friends before you go into the dorms.
So it's like freshman year coming in.
Yeah, freshman year. Going into Texas Tech University, Lubbock, Texas, Big 12. I'm with you guys. It's not just UT people here.
Yeah. That's right. UT, you're going to the Longhorns, which, we have a fairly sour taste at times.
Yeah.
I think partly because if you're at Iowa State, or frankly almost any college football or any other sport fan, Texas wins more than they lose, and it just gets annoying.
Yeah, it's annoying.
At a certain point.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to knock the person on the top down.
Right.
But Lubbock is like, that's kind of like us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're
we're the same.
We're the same people.
Yeah, it's I love Texas Tech because, you know, we did not take ourselves too seriously in anything. If UT slogan is what starts here changes the world, but Texas Tech slogan is from here it's possible. So it's kind of like
that captures it right there.
It's like from here maybe you can maybe you can do something. Yeah, you got a shot. And so I went to Texas Tech, went into that camp as a non-believer, walked out following Jesus. And it was some combination of like, obviously the Holy Spirit is doing all of this regenerative work like in my heart.
Yep.
Then there's also this like puzzle piece that I realized was fully missing from my life. So my dad wasn't in my life during my junior high and high school years for the most part. And so realizing that, okay, that's why God is the Father. He will never leave me, never forsake me. He's always got my back. He's always there for me. That was like a missing puzzle piece for me. And then seeing Jesus as the rock, and like the preacher was saying, you know, hold on to Jesus, the rock, in your storms, and when the waves hit you and in your trials, like you'll be okay, because it's not about your strength. It's about the strength of Jesus. And so I received that fully, and I made a decision to follow Jesus Christ. And after the camp, they allow you to go move in to the dorms on campus. And so, like, I had all my stuff with me in my little car, 1993 Geo Prism. Me and a friend could literally lift it up if we want to, you know, check underneath it. But yeah, my little rinky-dink car, moved into the dorms as a believer, started being in community, and started running so fast after Jesus and making disciples, all those different things.
So my story intersects with yours. And I want to pause before I go on and say, Mitchell, I have always known you as a person with remarkable joy in Jesus. Like, if you get the chance, guys, listen to this, to hang out with Mitchell and his wife, Hannah, at any point in time, you're just it's an infectious sort of joy. What you saw in your grandma, somehow God deposited that same sort of spirit in you, you know?
Dude.
But I remember still probably almost a decade ago, when we first met.
Yeah.
Because eventually you come through the Red Raiders of Lubbock and end up joining a staff team at a church down in Lubbock, Texas. We'll have a little tie-in there. And so we get connected through, I'm doing college ministry at Salt Company. You join a staff team doing college ministry down in Texas Tech. And I had no idea the backdrop of your story, because you just radiate this joy in the Lord. And so I often say that hardship with people makes them either like soft toward God and toward people, or hard toward God and toward people.
Wow.
And to see how Jesus redeemed those broken pieces and created in you a tenderness toward people who hurt, you know, and a real like love for the fatherless. Like, oh, I can come to you with the grace I got. Yeah. It's just an awesome thing to see.
Brother, thank you for that. That means so much.
Oh, it's so true of you. So we come across each other. You're doing ministry with Dusty Thompson, the guys down at Redeemer Church in Lubbock, Texas, which is like, if you're a Cornerstone or out there listening to this, if you're at Cornerstone and Ames, it would be like if you just took Cornerstone Church and put it in Lubbock, Texas. Dusty is just such a dear brother to me, and that church is just wonderful. We love them dearly. How did that time shape you, connected to Redeemer in that college ministry?
So good. I love Lubbock, Texas so much. Not many people love it, but I really do. And so, I started going to Redeemer Church when I was in college. And they were just all about discipleship. They were all about sending to the nations. They had this class called Perspectives that was like really like famous in the city for like people coming through and learning about God's heart for the nations. And so when I started going to Redeemer, it was because of this guy named Rashard Barnes. To be really honest, like growing up without my dad in some of the most formative years in my life, Like I really craved like not just discipleship when I became a believer from like any guy, but like really honestly like black guys who had families and who loved their wives well and all these different things. And so Richard really stepped into so many of those roles for me and like showed me what it looked like to follow Jesus. And Richard is one of those people who will like, he will tell you when you have a greater gift than he does. And so, and it's really jarring because like as a young college student, I'm just like, you know, like I'm struggling with my own pride, I'm struggling with lust, struggling with all the things. And, you know, when someone says like, oh, like you taught that extremely well, you already get a big head. But Richard was such a like mobilizer, like he would make sure to tell you, hey, you do this thing better than I do. And there was one time I was in college, he was like, I think you're a better teacher than I am. And like to hear that from a guy you look up to and like as a mentor to you is insane. And that's what really kind of won me over to like who Redeemer is. They're like, we're not about building our kingdom, we're about building God's kingdom. And like, we want to show you the gifts and capacity that you have now so that we can fan that flame for the glory of God. And so Dusty and Richard, my college pastor and a guy who discipled me, they were monumental to where I'm at right now. And they both like pulled me aside and was like, hey, like we think that you can be our next college pastor. And we actually want to start transitioning you into that role. And then kind of out of nowhere, Richard went to be a part of a church plant in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he called me over to his house and was like, hey, you're a new college pastor now. You got it. He said something weird like, you got the keys now. And it was like a normal day. And he was like, you want to help me paint this wall? Because we're about to sell this house. And it was just like, what's going on? So kind of got thrown into the deep end when I was like 23 and led a staff of people who were older than me. And I still did not think I was called to do full-time ministry. I was like,
you're still wrestling that.
I'm still wrestling with it. Wow. I know I want to be a part of a church plant because Redeemer like drips the church planting DNA, just like Cornerstone. But I didn't know if that was my place. My major was addictive disorder recovery studies. And so my mom is a gambling addict and a lot of people in my family are like addicts. And so my heart was to kind of be on the front lines, to be a part of like redeeming the broken. And you can kind of hear that like whenever I talk about our church plant, you kind of hear some of those things. But they were the ones who told me, all right, that's awesome that God's put it on your heart to do that. What if God has given you gifts to mobilize an entire church to do that for the glory of God? Like, what if you could help the people in the high rises and the college students and the young adults, everybody in between? What if you can help show them a picture of God's kingdom that was so big and so compelling that they would go and serve the people on the margins? And that's really what like helped get me there.
Wow. So you end up college director at Redeemer Lubbock. And then from there, moved to Austin to work with Austin Stone, doing college ministry, which really is kind of like intersects you with Austin, campus of University of Texas, UT. When you moved to Austin, Mitchell, were you thinking, I wonder if one day I'll plant a church here? Was that in your mind at all?
No, absolutely not. I moved to Austin really because my plan originally, once I was like, okay, I think I'm called to do this long term, Dusty and I were like, maybe you plan in New Orleans when you're 30. You take a team with you and take a bunch of college students with you. Maybe this is the first time we can really run a play like that. And then when Austin Stone reached out to me in fall 2018, I immediately told them no. And was like, hey, like I'm content where I'm at. I actually just started realizing that I actually like doing this. And they told me to pray about it. So like a good Christian, I prayed about it.
Totally. Sure,
and then God saw my heart to it and entered the process. But I told them at every point, I was like, I think God's calling me to plant a church. Did not think at all that it would be in Austin. I thought that this was a place where God was calling me to say yes to the assignment and rebuild this ministry that I'd been hurting for about a year. And to also like form in me like some dependence and grow me in leadership. Like what would it look like to lead, you know, a big ministry at a big church with like a lot of incredible leaders. And God did all those things, but like little did I know God worked on my heart like for the city of Austin throughout those 6 years I was at the Austin Stone.
So let's just talk a little bit about the Way Church as we wrap up. You guys are launching September of
September 13th.
2026.
Yeah.
So September 13th, if you're listening to this, let's set an alarm on the phone. Let's be praying, right?
Please.
The Way Church. Give a little snapshot of your heart for a few of the things you're praying as this church launches in Austin in fall of 2026.
Yeah.
What's on your heart for like, why this church? Why this place? What do you sense God's trying to do?
Yeah, that's so good. Why this church? So our mission is that we're sent to the heart of Austin to help every person find their way back to God. Austin is the type of place in Texas where Texas is mostly like a very Bible Belt heavy place. When people think about Texas, they might think of like an over-churched area like Dallas. Over-church, under-church, maybe I shouldn't use that term.
Yeah.
But
I was talking with somebody about this, Mitchell, and I'm from Iowa, you know, and so I go down to Dallas and it's like, it's a very jarring experience for me because it's just so many church buildings even. Just the sheer number. You're just like, how are there this many?
Yeah.
But yet, if you get underneath it, the levels of nominal Christianity, not deep gospel Christianity, are pretty pervasive there too. So I probably was more judgy of like, there's too many Christians here. But so I think there is, but Austin has a different vibe.
Yeah.
DFW, when I go in there, I always think, oh man, there's a lot of churches. Then I go into like Austin, hang out with you. I think, this is actually probably a little more what I'm used to when I think of like a classic college town. There's an edginess. There's a liberal weirdness to it, kind of.
Yeah, literally the slogan is "Keep Austin Weird."
That's the city slogan.
Yeah, Keep Austin weird.
What a great city slogan.
I know. Austin is such an interesting place. It's a place where people from the Bible Belt parts of Texas run to when they want to run from God, but stay in Texas. And so, like, it's a live music capital of the nation. There's big, like, festivals like South by Southwest with film, art, media, tech, creative stuff. Then there's also Austin City Limits. There's, like, this big kind of, like, downtown area, but not as big as, like, Houston or Dallas. And then kind of surrounding it, there's all this, like, greenery. So there's, like, a lake. There's, like, running trails. It's an incredibly active city. And so, but people come to Austin usually searching like for their purpose. And we want to kind of intersect their path as they're trying to run from God to show them that like God is for them and God wants them, God desires them. And so that's our mission, that we're sent to the heart of Austin to help every person find their way back to God. And then when we think about the city, we think of kind of these different types of people, and we've like, for the most part, categorized them as the people in the high rises, the people in the alleyways, and the people in the dorm rooms. And we want to be a church that loves the people who are trying to get rich, but show them that like their riches will fade. They'll stay on this side of heaven. Moth and rust will destroy them. And so you need to live for something that's actually eternal to actually find the joy you're looking for. And then for the people who don't have anything at all, people in a quote unquote alleyways, as we'd say, people experiencing homelessness, people in foster situations, CPS, things like that, people on the margins. Man, we want to like fan the flame of their hope and give them the gospel, even though it may seem like they have nothing, but if they have Jesus, they have everything. And then obviously the dorm rooms, like we think about the University of Texas. We think about what God can do. There are over 160,000 college students in the greater Austin metro area.
Wow. That is a huge population.
Yeah.
Wow.
160,000 college students. So that's like community colleges. That's a historically black college university. That's like down the street from UT. That's Texas State, like, which is a little bit further down, kind of where we live near San Marcos. And so, the type of church that we are trying to bring is a place that we can be present with the people in the high rises, the alleyways, and the dorm rooms, present enough and proximate enough to give them the gospel and show them the gospel of Jesus. A verse that I quote often to cast vision to our core team is that John 13:35, they'll know that you are my disciples by how you love one another. And to love other people, we have to be close to them. We have to be in the city. If we want to love the people in the city, we have to be there. And so we want to plant a church that is close to the people who are celebrating their promotions, who are broken because family and friends passing away, that are having a hard time because they're trying to figure out adulthood. That's the type of church we're wanting to plant.
Well, Mitchell, I'm super excited to pray with you and to cheer you on and watch what God's doing. I already see the fruit of that decade since I've met you as a young college pastor now, the maturity in your life, you're a young dad, you have a beautiful son, a wonderful wife. And just to be able to be a little part of that journey as a friend and as a cheerleader, I believe in you, man.
Yeah,
and
thank you, brother.
It's just a remarkable thing. Out of the brokenness, God rescued you not just in that situation in Katrina, but saved you ultimately, and now has commissioned you back out to be a minister of the gospel to help people out of the same sort of place of brokenness. And so, yeah, we're excited at Cornerstone to see what's going on with the way. If people want to know more, like they hear this story and they're like, oh man, I want to give financially. I want to know how to pray. Where do they go find your stuff online, Mitchell?
Yeah. www. Always got to say that first. thewayaustin.org.
thewayaustin.org.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, check that out online. Go on, visit. If you're in Austin, this is the church to go to.
Come on.
Get some brisket. What's the best brisket in Austin?
Ooh, in my humble opinion, Terry Black's.
Terry Black's.
Terry Black's. I know they're kind of franchising right now, and it's, in Dallas and a bunch of different places right now, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's
guys,
phenomenal.
Incredible food scene in Austin, a great church in Austin, beautiful university, even if sometimes they whoop us in everything at Iowa State, that's okay. But Mitchell, we're so excited and proud of you and praying for God to
so much.
Bless the Way Church.
Yeah.